Hi guys, this is Mrs. Rooker, and I'm going to be doing day one with you guys. Day one is on writing equations in slope-intercept form. And slope-intercept form should sound familiar from last unit. Remember, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So you should have that memorized still. And remember, it's called slope-intercept form because the slope is the m. That's slope. And the intercept, or more specifically the y-intercept, is the b. So that's slope-intercept form. What we're going to be doing this unit is basically the opposite of what we did last unit. Last unit, you were given an equation and you had to graph the line. Now you're given some information about the line and you need to write the equation. So we're going to write each equation in slope-intercept form. On this first one, they give us the slope. They give us the y-intercept. Remember, slope is your m and y-intercept is your b. So we can write this in y equals mx plus b. We just replace the m with the -2. X plus b gets replaced with the 6. All right. The next one is the same idea. They gave us the slope. So that's our m. Now they didn't tell us that this was the y-intercept, but if you graph the point 0, 5, that's this point right here. That's the y-intercept. Remember, 0, comma any number, 0, comma y, is going to be your y-intercept. So that's your b. So when I write this in y equals mx plus b, it's going to be y equals -2x plus 5. Your b is 5. So basically, anytime you see the point 0, comma something, that's your b. That's your y-intercept. All right, pause the video if you need to catch up on those things. Then we'll move on to number 3. So number 3 is just represented differently. Now we have to look at the picture and find the m and the b. So let's find the m first. Remember, m stands for slope. So I need to count the slope. Whenever I count the slope, I find 2 nice points that are on corners or whole numbers, and I like them to be close together so I don't have to reduce the fraction too much. So I'm going to pick this point here, and then I'm going to go to the right and find the next closest nice point, and that's this one here. So those are my 2 points, and I'm going to count the slope. I always go left to right. Remember, slope is rise over run. So I rose 1, 2, 3, and I ran 2. So my slope is up 3 over 2. Right? Because I went up 3 and over 2 to get from one point to the next. I could have picked other points on this line, like maybe this point here and this point here, and I still would have gone up 3 over 2. Anywhere you go, you're going to be going up 3 over 2, or some multiples of those numbers, but then you would have to reduce the fraction. All right, so that's my m. That's how we find slope. And now we need to find the b. The b is where it crosses this y-axis. So it crosses the y-axis down here at -1. So we write our equation, y equals 3/2 x plus b. Well, in this case, b is negative, so it's going to be -1, not +1. All right, moving on. So same thing, we're going to find the m, and then we're going to find the b. And then we're going to write it into the equation. So to find the m, we pick 2 nice points. I like to start on the y-axis with my points, but you can do them anywhere on the line. So that's a point, and then I always go to the right. So my next nice point is going to be here, because I don't want to stop here because that's in between 2 whole numbers. So I always start with the left, and then I go to the right. I notice that when I go from the left to the right, I'm actually going down, not up. So I'm going down 1, and then over 2. When I go down 1, that's actually -1. This is a negative slope. So down 1 over 2 is -1/2, which can also be written as negative in the very front of the fraction. They mean the same thing. It doesn't matter if the negative's with the 1 or if it's in the very front. It means the same. And then to find the b, that's just the number or where it crosses the y-axis. Remember, this is the y-axis. Oops. It crossed the y-axis right here at 1, 2, 3. So the b is 3. So our equation is going to be y equals m is 1/2 x plus b, which is 3. All right. So this is one where I'd like you to pause the video and try this problem, and I'll actually try B as well. So do A and B on your own, pause the video, and then when you unpause, we'll go over them. All right, so we're going to go over A. It says the slope is -1, so that's the m, and the y-intercept is -3, so that's the b. So when I write it in y equals mx plus b, it's going to be -1x plus -3. So that's the same as -3. Remember, you don't necessarily need the -1. You can just put -x minus 3. So either one of those would be good, acceptable answers. All right. So the next one says it crosses the y-axis at 2. That means that your line intercepts the y-axis at 2, meaning it has a point at 2 on the y-axis. And then it has a slope of up 1 over 2. So it looks something like, I don't know, something like that. It crosses the y-axis at 2, so that's your b, and it has a slope of 1, so that's your m. So y equals 1/2 x plus 2. You didn't need to graph it. I just wanted to give a little visual. Right. Almost done, just a few more. Why don't you, again, pause the video and try C and D on your own. And then once you've done that, I will, or you should unpause the video and I'll have the answers up here for you. All right, so here's the answer to C. When we find the slope, you pick 2 nice points. And actually, the graph looks slightly off from the line, but that should be, those should be 2 nice points. And then I always just go from left to right, and I notice that I'm going down first. So that's -1 and then over 1. So the slope is down 1 over 1, which is just -1. And then the y-intercept, where it crosses the y-axis, is right here at -2, so that's the b. And then when I write this, I just write it as y equals -x minus 2. You also could have written it as y equals -1x minus 2. Those two mean the same thing. All right, and then D, when I find the slope, I pick 2 nice points. I'll pick this one, and then the next nice point over is this one. From here to here, I went up 1, 2, 3, and over 1. So the slope is 3 over 1. And then the y-intercept, where it crosses the y-axis, is down here at -3. So the b is -3. When I write this as y equals 3 I could write it as 3 over 1x minus 3, or I could write it as y equals 3x minus 3. Because remember, 3 over 1 is the same as just 3. So those are your answers. All right, just a couple more. All right, a function with the values f of 4 equals -9 and f of 0 equals 1. So this is kind of an interesting notation. We probably haven't really talked much about function notation. But what this means here is we're plugging 4 in for the x value, and we're getting -9 out as the answer for our y value. So all you really need to know for our purposes today is that this is your x and this is your y. Same thing with this next point. This is your x and this is your y. Okay. If you want to, you can call this x1, y1, and then this is x2, y2, because we have 2 points here. If you prefer, you could also write them as coordinate points instead of writing them in this function notation. So it's just going to be 4, -9, and then the other point is 0, 1. Okay. And then, so one big thing, whenever I see 0, 1, remember we saw this way up here at the beginning. We had, we had 0, 5. Remember that ended up being your b value. Anytime you have 0, a number, that's your b value. So right here, I have my b. b equals 1. Okay. In order to write something in y equals mx plus b, you need a b, but you also need an m. We aren't given the m value in here anywhere, so we need to find it. The formula for finding m is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So since we weren't given our m, we need to find that. So I'm just going to plug into that formula. y2 I'm going to replace with 1, because over here I had that my y2 was 1. Minus y1 I'm going to replace with -9, because I said my y1 was -9. So I have minus -9. x2 I replace with 0. Minus x1 is 4. And then I simplify. Minus a negative is a plus. So 10 over 0 minus 4 is -4. Now those numbers are both even. Something goes into those and we can reduce it. So we can reduce by dividing these both by 2, because 2 goes into both. So 10 divided by 2 is 5, and -4 divided by 2 is -2. And that was my m that I just solved for. So m is 5 over -2. When I write this equation in y equals mx plus b, I write this as 5 over 2. I can put the negative in front, or I can put it with 5, doesn't matter, as long as I have a negative there. X plus b, which was 1. All right, so feel free to pause the video if you need to catch up on that. All right, and then the very last one. Again, we have 2 coordinate points, so this problem is going to be very similar to what we did on number 5. If you feel comfortable and you want to try this on your own, you can go ahead and pause the video and try it on your own. If not, you can just watch me do it. Remember, this is a special point. Whenever we have 0, something, that's our b. So b is 3. What we aren't given here is the m, so we need to find it. Remember, m is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I'm going to label these coordinate points. This is x, y, x, y. I'm going to call this one my first point. So 1, 1, This one my second point, 2, 2. All right, now just plug into the formula. So y2 gets replaced with 0, because that's what y2 was, minus y1 is 3, over x2, which is 6, minus x1, which is 0. And then I'll subtract those. 0 minus 3 is negative 3, and 6 minus 0 is 6. Both of those are divisible by 3. 3 goes into both. So I end up getting negative 3 divided by 3 is negative 1, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. So my m ends up being negative 1/2. Now I write that all in y equals mx plus b. Y equals negative 1/2 x plus b was 3. Oops. All right, that's it. Thank you guys.